Thank you all for joining us this evening. Our annual tradition per our Hartford City Charter every year on the first council meeting of March, our mayor, Luke Bronin, comes and presents the State of the City Address, which makes today his 5th State of the City Address. We are happy to have him and look forward to hearing his remarks. Mayor Bronin, you have the floor.
Good evening, everyone. Council President Rosado, members of the Court of Common Council, Treasurer Cloud, members of our delegation to the General Assembly, Superintendent Torres Rodriguez, my colleagues in city government, good evening. It's an honor to serve with you. And to the residents of our city, thank you for the trust that you've placed in me and in our team. And to Sarah and our kids, I love you, and I cannot thank you enough. Before I start tonight, I want to say a few words about the fire on Charter Oak Place yesterday. Our prayers are with the family of Jerome Kaiser, who lost his life, and with all of the families who lost so much. Knowing that terrible fire was set intentionally makes the tragedy all the more awful. It could have been one of the worst fires in our city's history, and the reason it was not is because of our first responders. Our firefighters, our police officers, our dispatchers, our emergency medical professionals, they saved many lives. And in the hours since the fire, the HFD Special Services Team, our Health and Human Services Team, the Red Cross, and our CERT teams have been working to help support and relocate the roughly 70 families displaced yesterday. Even as our hearts are heavy, we are so grateful and proud to those who choose to run toward danger and who prevented so much greater loss yesterday. As Council President said, this is the 5th time I've had the chance to speak to you about the state of our city. The first 2 focused on a historic fiscal crisis. We confronted insolvency honestly and boldly, and over the last few years, we made those tough choices necessary to put our city on a new path forward. Tonight, I can report that the state of our city is stronger than it has been in decades, and it's getting stronger. And if we are willing to stay disciplined and stay bold, it will get stronger still. We have so much more work to do, and we are nowhere near where we aim to be. But look back on just the last 12 months. Since last year's State of the City, we won the litigation with Centerplan, signed development agreements for Downtown North and Park and Main, saw residents move back to Bowles Park, broke ground on the redevelopment of Westbrook Village and the Hub on Park, watched professional soccer and the Turkey Day game played at Dillon Stadium, enacted a comprehensive new housing code for the first time in 40 years, partnered with residents to force out 2 of the city's worst slumlords, opened Weaver, and started renovating Martin Luther King School. We saw Greater Hartford rally to raise millions for the new Boys and Girls Club off Weathersfield Avenue. Upgraded facilities in our parks, saw construction start on the Park Street Library branch and near completion at the Parkville Market, and swore in the most diverse police academy class in Hartford's history. We attracted new sources of support for our Youth Service Corps, launched new initiatives to reduce chronic absenteeism with the Hartford Public Schools, won grant funding to promote child development by increasing the number of words our young children hear, and secured $800,000 to launch the Hartford Healthy Family Initiative to reduce chronic disease. Our city was recognized as one of 3 cities to watch around the country for our work on green energy and sustainability. And last week, our fire department became one of just 87 departments in the entire country to be both internationally accredited and ISO Class 1 rated department. And yesterday we saw why. Stanley Black & Decker opened their Manufactory 4.0 in downtown Hartford. Like Infosys did in 2018, two leading tech firms, Galaxy Solutions and HCL, made Hartford a home for their global innovation work, accelerating Hartford's growth as a scale-up city and a regional tech center. More insurtech firms put down roots here. Hartford Healthcare launched a digital health accelerator with UConn and Trinity, signed a historic partnership with the Israel Innovation Authority, and will soon be moving hundreds of jobs and creating hundreds of new jobs on Pearl Street. Our credit rating was raised, and then it was raised again, citing our careful controls. We began rebuilding our city's fund balance, continued to invest in infrastructure without borrowing, and put resources aside for future capital investment. That's just a small sample. That's just in the last 12 months. And that's something that we can all be proud of. But we do have so much more work to do. We know that for a lot of our neighbors, those victories may not feel like victories in their lives. Because for many in our community, the battle is about making ends meet every day. It's about getting a job, but not having the transportation to get to that job. It's choosing between paying the heat or paying taxes. It's knowing that their child has fire in her eyes to learn, but isn't getting what she needs at school. It's living in a building with windows that won't close or mold on the walls, but having doors slammed in your face when you try to rent somewhere else with a voucher in your hand. It's watching kids move away because they don't find the opportunities they want right here. And it's trying to find a job, but running again and again into the barrier of a record from long ago. We know how much work we have to do. And that's why today I want to focus less on where we've been or even where we are, and more on where we're going, the future of what we want to build. And then I want to talk about one specific way that we can all do something right now to help include as many of our fellow residents as possible in that future. Every 10 years, every city and town in Connecticut has to update its 10-year plan for development. This time we looked 5 years further to 2035, the year that Hartford turns 400. Our Planning and Zoning Commission began that process months ago, engaging thousands of residents through public meetings, working groups, and surveys. I want to thank our planning commissioners and our P&Z chair, Sarah Bronin, for dedicating a tremendous amount of time to that engagement work and to building a plan that reflects our community's aspirations. To build the vibrant, thriving, bustling, safe, fun city that our residents want, the draft city plan released last Monday identifies 5 action areas: green, move, live, play, and grow. Green to become a more sustainable city, move to become more connected, live to become more equitable, play to become more active, and grow to become a more prosperous city. Our draft city plan paints a bold picture, as it should. We can be honest and acknowledge that it would be an extraordinary achievement for the region, for the state, maybe even for the country, and certainly for our city if we accomplish everything we set out to do. But I don't view this plan as a too distant dream that we have to temper. Last year I asked everyone, whether you're a city employee, a resident, someone who lives in the region, to believe in Hartford, to work for Hartford, help reimagine and remake Hartford. Our plan's an opportunity to do that. It's an expression of our aspirations. So if you haven't already, today I'm asking you to take a look at it, think about what's in it, and give us your feedback. Hartford2035.org. Hartford2035.org. The draft plan has more than 200 recommendations in it. There are transformative physical projects that would fundamentally change the nature of our city, like fully reconnecting Hartford back to the Connecticut River and turning the South Meadows into an area that drives economic growth and creates opportunity for our community. Or building Parkville into an arts and innovation district, or complementing the Albany Avenue streetscape and development in downtown North with a North Main Culture Corridor anchored by a revitalized Terry Square. Or reimagining Retreat Avenue as the green corridor at the center of a health innovation zone. There are priorities focused on our most long-standing challenges, like cutting gun violence in half, dramatically increasing attendance, and supporting achievement in our schools, making the No More Slumlords campaign a reality as well as a powerful rallying cry, and working with the state to expand and improve public transit in Hartford and beyond. There are goals related to climate change and resiliency, like expanding solar energy usage by 300%, replacing the whole city vehicle fleet with clean energy vehicles, and planting 3,000 trees a year. And there are broad aspirations, like making Hartford the live music capital of Connecticut, or promoting Hartford as the scale-up city for entrepreneurs of all kinds. We could spend hours talking about the rest of the plan, and if you want to, there are 6 public meetings this month about the plan, and the next one is tonight, right after this, at the Parkville Market. You'll get a chance to see the new Parkville Market, too. Though our 400th anniversary may feel far off, this plan should guide us as we make decisions about priorities and our investments right now. It may take us 15 years to build 100% of our bike plan or our parks plan, but we need to start that work now. Today, we're far short of planting 3,000 trees a year, and we need to start ramping up now. And while we've seen most categories of crime drop significantly in recent years, we have much work to do together to meet our goal of cutting gun violence in half. And that's why the work that we're doing now with our rapid response protocol, juvenile specialist, domestic violence intervention, partnership with community organizations, Project Longevity is so crucial. And why we're determined right now to build a strong hospital-based violence intervention program and expand the work of our violence interrupters, not 15 years from now, but now. And we're a long way from achieving everything we plan to do. But while we have so much work to do, there is already new energy and activity and investment, and nearly 40% of our residents already identify arts and culture as our city's greatest strength. So now is also the time for us to start building a marketing campaign to promote the great things that are happening in our city right now. I'm grateful to everyone who contributed to our draft city plan, and I hope as many people as possible contribute their ideas and their feedback. Growth is a big focus of the plan. But one of the legitimate questions that people ask here and around the country is, who is this growth for? The innovation ecosystem that's growing here, the buildings that are going up, the businesses that are coming here. Will the residents of this city benefit from those things? I've always believed that the answer is yes. We are one Hartford. We're a small city. We're a city whose future depends on growth. And we're a city that had 50,000 more residents 70 years ago. So we have room for development that knits our neighborhoods back together and fills in gaps. And because of that, we have the chance to do what many cities haven't been able to do, to promote investment and growth without creating displacement and loss. But we also have an obligation to build ladders of opportunity for everybody, so that everyone has a chance to share in Hartford's rise. There's many steps to that. One is supporting and working with the Board of Education and Superintendent to continue strengthening our schools, and especially our neighborhood schools. Another is growing programs like the Youth Service Corps, which will be even stronger in its 5th year, thanks to new support from the Hartford Foundation and expanded support from the Dalio Foundation. A third is expanding the connections between our community colleges, job training programs, and the employers that are looking to fill jobs today, like the Hartford's apprenticeship program with Capital Community College. But the part that I want to focus on tonight is how we can take a bold and big step to address an issue that affects almost every resident of our city, directly or indirectly. And that's what kind of life people are able to live when they've made mistakes and paid for those mistakes. Over the course of the last 2 decades, more than 13,000 Hartford residents returned home after serving time for a misdemeanor or a felony. And many more not counted in that number live with a record of mistakes even older than that, with no new offenses in a long, long time. If you came in through the back of City Hall tonight, you walked past the Hartford Reentry Welcome Center, which we started with community partners in action and with the help of the Hartford Foundation. In just over a year, our reentry team has built partnerships to connect clients to basic needs, medical treatment, education, housing, family reunification support, and more. The staff has seen more than 450 individuals walk through those doors. For someone getting off a Department of Correction van, there's a world of difference between stepping onto a sidewalk with nowhere to go and stepping into the Reentry Welcome Center. Recently, I spoke to Evelyn. A few years ago, she'd been convicted of a nonviolent felony. She did her time, she was released, and had nowhere to go. She struggled to find work, and she couldn't find housing. When she went on job interviews and was transparent about her past, some employers told her that the past would not be a problem. And then 2 or 3 days later, they'd pull the offer back when the background check came in. Last April, she walked through our doors below these chambers. Our reentry team helped her find a place to stay. The next Monday, they sat around a table and made a plan. She had previously been a certified nursing assistant, and the center helped her get her license back. She finally did get a job, but not at the level she used to work at. She has a car, but she can't get an apartment. Without the reentry center, she might have had nothing, but she continues to run into walls again and again. And her story's like Kevin's. Kevin grew up in Blue Hills, and he's lived here his entire life. He got into Prince Tech, and before he graduated, he got into trouble and was incarcerated. After he got out, he had trouble finding any kind of job. He said, once I had that record, no one wanted anything to do with me. I would get a job, they would do the background check, and I would lose a job. Kevin was in and out of prison, and he knows that he's made serious mistakes. The last time, after he got out, he heard about the Reentry Welcome Center, and he decided to give it a shot. The reentry team helped him write a resume, they welcomed into a support group with other men, and they connected him to Platform to Employment, which pays the wages of returning citizens for a period of time so that there's no risk to employers when they give somebody a chance. Today, he's working at an auto shop. His goal is to become a mechanic and save up for an apartment. His record, though, is a barrier to both. And he says he's saving up and might get a car to live in. But as he said, who wants to live in a car? We want to grow our Reentry Welcome Center, and we can do a lot of good that way. And we're all so grateful for the staff at the center, many of whom are here tonight. Our incredible reentry team can be a knowledgeable resource. They can be compassionate. They can be caring in a way that many of those who walk through the doors can't find elsewhere. They can help make a plan. They can connect people to resources. But what they cannot do is erase the record that holds so many people back no matter how hard they try. State lawmakers, though, can do that. And we as a community can put our voices and our stories and our collective effort to work to help make that happen. Because as long as Kevin and Evelyn continue to do the things the right way, it doesn't help anybody if they can't get or even look forward to the time when they could get an apartment or a job or a promotion. It doesn't make our city safer or our community better off. There's a movement around the country and in Connecticut to remove those lifelong barriers by automatically expunging the criminal records of formerly incarcerated people who committed certain types of offenses, did their time, and have stayed offense-free for a number of years. The principle is simple. As a society, we impose consequences when people break the law, and we should. But that doesn't mean that every crime deserves a life sentence. Pennsylvania passed the first clean slate law in the nation in 2018. The second state to pass a clean slate law was Utah, with a Republican governor in 2019. The ACLU supports the idea, and so does J.P. Morgan Chase's Public Policy Center. Clean slate is not about lighter punishment. It's about whether we believe that perpetual punishment benefits our society or whether we all do better when those who've erred and been punished have the chance to work, to pay taxes, to support their families, to live in a home that provides a stable foundation for a life well lived within the law. Governor Lamont deserves credit because at the beginning of this legislative session, he helped start the conversation and introduce clean slate legislation. His bill applies to certain classes of misdemeanors, and it could be a first step. But there's legislation that would go much farther, and we should support that. Legislation introduced by Senator Holder Winfield and co-sponsored by Majority Leader Ritter would automatically expunge all misdemeanors if someone stays crime-free for 7 years, and expunge 3 classes of the least serious felonies if someone stays crime-free for 12 years after they're convicted, with certain exceptions. The principle is the same, but the impact, particularly in our community, would be much broader. Under the bill, more than 25,000 people would have their record expunged in the state of Connecticut. And in Hartford, at least 7,295 people would see their records expunged either immediately or in time if they don't reoffend. Why am I focusing so much on a legislative proposal that you, the council, can't enact and we cannot implement in city government? Because people often ask me what they can do as individuals to benefit our community. And right now I have an answer. Over the next 3 months, urging Connecticut's General Assembly to pass the strong, clean slate bill could be one of the most important things we can do for Hartford's future. Because unlike many of the big challenges we face, this one can be fixed fundamentally and quickly. With the vote of 2 chambers and a stroke of a pen, thousands of residents in our city would be able to participate more fully in the growth and the opportunities we're seeking to create. So let's support our legislators and let's fight for our residents by pushing for a serious, meaningful clean slate bill. And at the same time, let's build on the position we've gained as one of the most progressive and compassionate cities in the country when it comes to reentry support. Before I close, I want to address the coronavirus. While there are things we don't yet know about the coronavirus, we know some important facts. First, it will spread. We have not had confirmed cases in Hartford, but that will change probably soon. And the fact that we have not identified a case here may simply be that across the country and here in Connecticut, there's been far too little testing done. Second, based on the evidence so far, we know that the vast majority of people who do become infected go through what feels like a cold or a flu and then recover, if they develop symptoms at all. Third, we know that every single person can take easy steps to dramatically reduce the likelihood that they'll get sick. You should wash your hands a lot, wash them well, avoid shaking hands, and avoid unnecessary contact with others. Fourth, we know that our goal as a city and as a region should be to avoid getting to the point of community spread. Community spread is that point where you can contract the virus without being able to trace the source of that virus to a particular contact. And fifth, we know that to avoid community spread, it's much easier to take smart, aggressive actions early than to try to play catch up after our health system has been overwhelmed. As a city, we're planning for many scenarios in close coordination with hospitals, schools, public institutions, businesses, the state, and federal governments. There is a chance that we'll have to change the way our government, our schools, and our businesses operate, and we're preparing for that. As part of a public information effort over the next few weeks, we'll hold a teletown hall with medical experts in the next week in English and then in Spanish to get accurate information to our residents and answer questions. I know that there are many people who are nervous and concerned about the new coronavirus, and we should all take this seriously. And our collective response must be to take the basic precautions, listen to the experts, and act on their advice. And I ask for your understanding in advance if we have to make decisions that do affect your daily life or your business. That may mean inconvenience and disruption. It may mean cancellations and closures. We will err on the side of being early and aggressive rather than late and slow. At the end of the day, the novel coronavirus too shall pass. As a community, we've come through much harder things. We'll do it honestly, deliberately, resiliently, and transparently. And in the meantime, the work of building the Hartford we all want to see will continue. Because, as I said that day that many of us up here were elected last fall, we all want the same things for our city and for each other. We want the 8th grader going to a neighborhood school to set her sights on a Hartford Promise scholarship and get it. We want the small business owner on Maple Avenue who immigrated to this country to grow his business, to grow new jobs and create opportunity for others. We want the mom of kids on Enfield Street to see the path for her kids to work at one of our insurance companies, or to be a teacher in our schools, or an engineer at Pratt & Whitney, or to serve in City Hall someday. And we want our kids growing up here to be part of building and reinventing our city, not moving away to find opportunities elsewhere. Government alone can't do all that, but government has a role to play. Planning well will help us do it better. Not shying away from the fights that need to be fought will help us go farther. Shining a light on the incredible talent and beauty and strength of our community and our city will remind us why we do what we do, why it matters so much, and why we all need to work so hard. And continuing our work with relentless energy and urgency and focus on the long term will mean that in the not too distant future, some mayor can stand up and simply say, the state of our city is strong. God bless you all, and God bless the city of Hartford.
Thank you, everyone, and that concludes our State of the City. We will reconvene at 6 o'clock for a public comment hearing. Thank you.